And think about it. When you talk about foundation, I remember like in LA, they're building these skyscrapers, right?
Yes.
To build them first, they dig some holes. That doesn't make sense.
Not just some holes, but do you know how deep they go with how deep they have to go based on the engineering? There's a depth chart.
And California being on those plates for earthquake, they build it where the buildings can actually roll when we have
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And the foundations they had to restructure how they build buildings in California with the technology that they have right now.
Absolutely. They have to be pliable because the movement is regular. And so that's just engineering, or they reverse the engineering by saying, okay, well, we got to go to this depth. We got to go to this depth in order for this structure to be able to hold this, all the weight, all the material, right? The wind, the velocity of the wind, again, the movement of the ground.
And houses built in North Carolina are built different from in California
Absolutely.
than from the tropics,
Absolutely.
than from those that are up in the North Pole.
Absolutely.
So depending on but the fact is they all start with the foundation.
I'll start with the foundation. Hey, let's pause. Let's pause right there because somehow I hit the go live button, which I intended to. But let's just pause right there and let's uh, acknowledge that we are here and that we are in these digital communities. Did you want to forward and share to your community, Wayne?
I'm gonna pull it up now.
It's on my, go to my page, and I think you'll be able to forward it. Go to my Facebook page.
I see you there, and I see me. I'm sending them right now to all of these places.
Yes. And so while you're doing that, I just want to welcome the viewers to uh, the Coach's Corner with Oliver and Wayne. And this is our second edition of this platform. And we just welcome you if you're listening to this live, or you might be listening to the replay. But my name is Oliver Blue, and this is my partner in believing, my mastermind partner, Wayne Moody, and we are both certified life coaches. We both have a heart for serving humanity and bringing humanity forward, right? We want to bring humanity forward to be much more in alignment with their true inheritance. And all inheritance starts with identification. If you got an inheritance, that means that you have a relationship with someone, right? You just
Yes.
The inheritance just don't. And but the inheritance that we're talking about is that fact that we all are of the same source. We're all of the same God, same creator, and that same source, same God, that same creator, its nature is love. And then the nature of love is to share and extend. And God has shared everything with us. He didn't hold back anything. And so that which he shared, we just labeled it as our inheritance. And all of us have been given the same inheritance. But just because there's an inheritance, that doesn't mean that you just begin to experience it. No, there's some actions that had to be taken in order to identify yourself as, yeah, I am the true heir, right? Then number two, we have to know who we are, gets back to the identification. And once you have it, yeah, once you have identified yourself as the heir, and then you can move forward with experiences. So we're just here basically to add value and some goodwill into these virtual communities that we share. And Wayne and I are on once per month in this platform, what we call the Coach's Corner. Nothing formal, but we are here to inform all humanity that there is a way of doing things.
Hmm.
that everything in this life operates by law, and and so there's a certain way of doing things, and when we align ourselves with that certain way of doing things, which at the foundation of that is our identity, because see, without the identity, we can't participate in any of this. So we have to know who we are, and that we are that heir, and that we are all entitled, right? Yeah, we all are entitled. Yeah, we all been given this in creation. Not only identification, but what came with the identification uh, is the things that we have inherited of our Creator, and that is everything.
Hmm.
And that's why, you know, we might as well accept the fact that we have been put in a class with God. We are of the God kind, of the God class. We are God's highest creation, and no other part of creation uh, has this express image and likeness of our Creator. We are the God's highest creation, and so just pat ourselves on the back and say, "Oh my God, I'm glad I'm part of the God's creation. I'm glad I have an inheritance." And so that's why we're here, and to share and to break down these laws, break down, and really there's only one law, Wayne, and we know what that is. That is the law of love, right? But within the law of love are all these other operative laws that we need to know about. And it's critical that we know about them, because to not know about the law basically is how things work right, how things operate. And without knowing it, that the law that has been given to us to bless us and to bring us joy and creativity and all of the good things, those laws seemingly work against us. But it's not that the law is working against us, we are working against the law. And so we bring these Coach's Corner talks just to bring more clarity to our communities, to help people to realize that life is simple, but life operates by law, and we need to know how that operates. And so we just have these casual conversations.
Yes.
So Wayne,
Hey,
just for a point of introduction, you are located in what, down in the Southwest somewhere, right?
you know, let's talk about where I'm from.
That
And
sounds good.
usually, folks say, "Where are you from?" And my response to that is, I'm actually originally from heaven, but I was dropped off in a piece of heaven called Belize, right? Where I'm currently residing in this body is in Houston.
All right.
But I am a son of the Most High God. So, and talk about who I am and my inheritance. I was conceived in the mind of God. God thought about me. That's why I'm here today.
Yes. And your chosen profession again is?
I am a dream builder life coach, but the essence of my whole life and purpose is I am a world changer. That's how I actually start the spiritual journey.
Right.
At the age of 18, someone challenged me to be a world changer. They said the world is in a dilemma. The world needs to change, but the only way the world can change is if people change, and the only way people can change is if they're connected to God to change them. And I said, I'm in.
Right.
At 18, I started becoming a world changer, and I've evolved to where I'm at today. Now, as far as what I do today, I am a life coach, a dream builder life coach, and we both actually have one of the common mentors in Mary Morrissey,
Yes.
who has been a part of our journey. But where I'm at today is Houston, Texas.
All right. Wow. Well, great, Wayne. And I tell you, when we were putting this idea on our schedule for this year, we decided that we'll come on at least once a month. It may not be the same time, so we just wanted to remain flexible. But at the same time, we listed some topics, some ideas we wanted to share and discuss, and both of us agreed that if you're going to build something, you have to start with the end in mind, right? And so our end game here is your growth, is your awareness being expanded. Our end game here is you understanding who you are. Our end game here is understanding that everything that exists for you in all humanity, and that there's no specialness um, in in this space that we're talking about. There's no specialness. There's no, there's no exceptions. What we come from a universal space where equality is at its root, where love is at its root, where happiness and joy and peace is at the root. And so that's what we're here to share. And but when we thought about where to start, we knew where we wanted to end up. And so to end up where we want to end up where we want to end, we have to start with that destination in mind. So today we decided that you got to have a foundation, and the foundation in everything in life has to do with the nature of the thing, or that thing's identity. So we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to chat back and forth about the importance of knowing who you are. And then once you know who you are, then the why becomes very inevitable, right? Yeah.
Hey,
So,
as you're saying that, Oliver, you are an American. I'm a Belizean by birth, right?
right, right. But according to the government.
Right. That's where I was born. So that's where people say, "Oh, I'm an Argentinian, or I'm a Puerto Rican, or but that is a small aspect, and it's reference to where you were dropped off. Because that's what I say. I'm from heaven, but I was dropped off in a piece of heaven called Belize.
Right.
And that's why I would say, "Oh, I'm a Belizean by birth," because that's where I actually was. And I think of the process of my conception, because my mom had an egg, my dad shot millions of sperms, bingo, it hit. There was a conception of my humanity and who I am as a human being. And they said, "Oh, it's a boy, and his name shall be called Wayne." But the thing about it is that's not where I started. I actually started in the mind of the Creator, because before I was conceived in my mother's womb.
So that conception is where your human experience started.
That's my humanity. That's what I inherited. Like, if you look at my dad, I am the image of my father.
Yes.
I mean, the genes, if you go do the genetic, I say this, if they had took my dad on the Jerry Springer show, they would have said, "You are the father."
Hey, look, I'm guilty too. Those that may be out here listening and know my family, knew my dad or whatever, they know that, my mom and dad had 4 boys. I'm the third one. I'm the third son, and they waited till the third son to name him Junior. And there was a reason why. Because I am indeed this spitting image of my dad, in physical features, and so absolutely.
And you got to get the DNA to prove it. And
I got the DNA to prove it.
When we think of who we are as far as being the spiritual being now.
Right. So that was that human experience is what all of us get a start in, and we can identify, because that happens in time and space. So there is a specific time and a specific place that we can identify and say, yeah, this experience happened on March 11, 1959, in this town, at this hospital. These are the parents. This was the doctor. We were the witnesses. Right. So that is a finite experience, right? And then everything that happens from that point of birth to the sensation of that physical body is the human experience. Everything in between is just experiences, right? And that experiences are identified as that government name that we're all given, that government number that we're all given, right? But you and I know, Wayne, that's the experience that most people have problems with. And that we know that is only just a temporary time based experience. It's not. It has a beginning and an end.
This body has an expiration date.
Yes.
Because, um, I mean, at 61, I realized that I got to eat, I got to exercise, I got to take care of it because somebody said, this is the house that you're traveling in and you better take care of it because if it breaks down, you're still going to have to be in it.
Yeah. You don't get another one.
So, but the real me is a spiritual being on this journey called life. And I get a chance to become even more aware as I take a deep breath. That source that I'm connected to, that source that is the creator, that source that is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, that source that is expansive, that source that is not impacted by the American economy, is not impacted by the economy of Europe, is not impacted by the situation and circumstances that one experiences. That source is infinite, and that source is love.
Right. Well, you didn't always know yourself to be that. Something happened that caused you to become aware or to recognize that there is a part of you that is much grander, that is much more expansive, a finite part of you. When I say an infinite part of you, I'm meaning which can't be traced to a beginning or an end, that which has always been and always will be. And that is what you're saying now, is that you discovered that self, right? That big S self.
Yes.
Right. And so now the assignment is what? The integration of those two experiences, right?
I say as I become more aware, right? I live to know God and make God known. And as I'm becoming more aware, because God doesn't change. And I am as God created me. But then as far as my awareness, that's where the evolution occurs. Because I see the last time you and I talked, that's not who you're talking to today. Because every day I'm ever becoming more and more and more aware of the fullness of who I really am.
So which part of you is becoming more aware? Is it the finite part? Is that what's coming more aware?
The finite
right.
part.
And okay, so the what finite part is becoming aware of what the true identity is and what's really behind the scene, right?
I'm complete as far as who I am spiritually. I'm complete. I am one with the I am. And it's like, wow, I pause and acknowledge that. But then it's like there's a catching up with the infinite part, with the finite part is catching up.
Yeah. Well, your experience may not be like mine, or no two experiences are alike. But I'm like you. There was a time in my life for probably the first 27 years, I did not really know who I was. And that question always would bubble up into my conscious when I would get quiet, especially in my early mid 20s. Who are you? Who are you? What am I here for? What's all this is about? This is a mess. That was my view of everything, that this was a mess. And I wanted to escape the mess. Right. And, but the question kept coming till I finally responded by saying, okay, I'm going to go on a search, right? I'm going to go on a journey of discovery, because I need to know this, because not knowing this is not bringing me peace, but I'm being invited into this knowing, right? So all this was happening in me, it was all happening within my consciousness, right? Within my thoughts. And so I went on the journey, and after about 6 months of just, only thing I knew at that point was to turn to my training, my roots, which, I was raised in a Christian household, in a Christian family, that we were all taught Christianity was a way to uh, to come to know God, right? So I started reading the Bible because I never read the Bible really for myself, you know, really, I mean, read it. And I started reading the Bible, and 6 months into that, I had this incredible encounter, which really transformed my life, changed my life forever, where uh, it's unexplainable. All I know is that I was in the moment, suspended from everything that I ever knew, everything I ever felt. I was in this incredible uh, uh, vibration of love and joy and ecstasy. It's just indescribable. But that's how I say that's what I felt in the moment. But of course, I didn't stay in that state of mind. However, it changed everything, and all of a sudden, it's like my taste buds changed, my desires changed, everything from my nature changed. In other words, and now I look back on, I just realized that I had allowed myself, on that journey of discovery, to be open to whatever happens. You know what I'm saying? Because it was a mystery to me. Not knowing yourself is a mystery. When you don't know who you are, and so when you don't know who you are, you begin to make of yourself what you think, you know, you should be, or what the world say you should be. And so the foundation that you're building on is a foundation that's based on you know that which is not reality, that which is not eternal, that which is not infinite, that which is basically temporal.
You know,
But how can you build a eternal being on a temporal foundation? That won't work.
talk about knowing who you are, Oliver. When one doesn't know who they are, someone else is going to define them.
Absolutely, the culture will. And I was, all I knew was my conditioning, and so I would look around and find something that I said, well, I want to be like that, and then you try to build your, and that is not a solid foundation. And so from that point in 19, that would have been 1990, 98, 99, no, 1988, 89. From that point, I've been on this journey of discovery, and to where I am here in 2023, where I now understand and know who I am, and I have never been as happy about myself. I had never have experienced peace and life and joy, and more life and more happiness and more fulfillment and contentment as I ever had in my whole life. I'm enjoying that now. It's only because I came to know who I was as this infinite, impersonal, and self-aware being that God created. And I was not that experience that I had where my parents gave me the beginning of a human experience. That wasn't my beginning. That was just an experience that began at that moment, and then now. And so now, over all these 30 something years, I've integrated that into one.
Hmm.
And so I'm not fragmented, I'm not confused. I have clarity about my identity. I have clarity about my purpose. I have clarity about my function. I have clarity about my role. And so, I have this feeling and this sense of harmony and integrity, and there is no inward war and fighting that used to be a part of my experience. Is that has totally been dissipated, and that came at the knowing of myself. So I have at that point began to build my life on that foundation of knowing who I was, because up until then my foundation was on what my parents gave me in birth, right? And
So,
what this culture trained me and conditioned me to be, and that was shaky, man.
so we,
And
we asked the question: will the real Oliver rise? Will the
the
true,
real Oliver has arisen.
true Wayne rise in this moment?
Yes.
Um, you know, we do have a body. This body is so
Oh, we have an
this
incredible body.
body is so amazing.
Yes.
Thinking about just the single cell, which is connected to like the different organs and systems and the heart and the brain And it's like it blows my mind away. I remember I was driving Uber in LA, and I had this couple in the car, and we were talking, and I found out that they were researchers and they were scientists, right? And what they were studying was the mitochondria. Can you imagine? Part of the cell is the mitochondria, and people are actually doing research with the mitochondria because there is so much that can be obtained from that reference to the health of the body. But the reality is that being a part of the cell, that being a part of the body, that is that. I mean, this body that I have, in essence, is amazing. And I have my five senses that come with my sight, my smell, my taste, my hearing, my feeling, and who I am physically connects with the sensories, right?
Yes.
but again, that's in essence of who I really, really am.
Yes.
It's not that this body.
Yes, that's right. And you also have to go along with that are those 6 invisible mental faculties.
Tell me about them.
Let me see if I can name them. I'm doing a little
Intuition.
I'm doing a little talk on them right now in my morning lives. Intuition, memory, reason, will, imagination, and perception. Yes. So all of us have these gifts that we're given, these invisible gifts, so that we can relate not only to the physical, but we can relate to the invisible, right? Because I can't see your memory, I can't see your thoughts, I can't see your perception or your intuition, I can't see, your will. All these are invisible faculties that work through the mind, right? And boy, we can talk about that marvelous mind that we've all been given, right? But if you don't know that the mind is marvelous, and you are not at some point taught and trained what the mind is, where it is, and how it functions, you are at a serious disadvantage, because you'll find that the mind, or you would think that the mind is working against you personally. And it's not that it's working against you. It is just your awareness is so limited that you don't understand how it works.
And talk about the mind. The mind reads the capacity of my choices and my will.
Yes.
And we do have, and we were just talking a while ago before we came online about how the fishes, by instinct, they swim up the river to spawn. I mean, the animals migrate to different places because they need to. The birds are doing the same. And we as human beings, we've just messed up this environment. And you have fishes going up rivers where when they get there, it's polluted. You have animals wondering, well, what is happening with this environment here right about now? But then we, the highest epitome of God's creation, I mean, there was a snowstorm in a month that we didn't really expect it, but we can still do what we need to do because of just the faculty that we have.
Right. We can make the adjustments. We're creative beings. All the other forms of creation are basically instinctive, right? However, they are comfortable in their environments, right? If you look at all the other all the other forms of system forms, like the animals, the vegetation. If you look at the galaxies, right, in the solar system and how that works, you don't see any infighting. You don't see any, you don't see planets bumping into each other. You don't see the moon and the sun fighting against each other. Every other part of creation is comfortable in its environment except for humanity. And the reason we're not comfortable in our environment is that because we know instinctively that, this is not our real original habitat. We're just visiting this space, right? And so we know that this is not in alignment with our nature. But like we said, God has given us all the gifts. So we have the ability, we have the creativity, right, to create our own, right? Our own state of comfortability, our own state of peace, our own state of oneness and teamwork. We have the ability to do that.
And isn't that love?
That's love, right? And it's right. And
to be given that capacity.
Yes.
You imagine a creator creating a being like itself that can actually become even as far as the expression of creation. Because honestly, left to ourselves, as far as the capacity that we have, there's nothing that we can imagine that we cannot necessarily see become a reality.
Right. And if we don't understand why, we will try to create that which self-destructs. You know what I mean? So we started out by talking about, and I want to put this up, Wayne, the importance of knowing who you are. When I was thinking about this particular verse of scripture came to mind. That's out of 1 Corinthians 3:11. And it goes like this. It says, for no other foundation. Remember we said our identity is our foundation. It is what we build our life on. It is out of this identity that comes the issues or the experiences of life. Everything that you've ever acquired in life, everything you've ever experienced in life, everything that you have ever remembered about those experiences have come from this place that we call identity. Your identity determines everything. So when we are operating from a false identity, when we're operating from a limited identity, which would be, that which our parents gave us, then our experiences will be limiting. They will be, which would include things like lack and sickness and disease and pain and challenges we can't overcome. But when we realize that our foundation is in our Creator, our foundation is in God, which is infinite, right? Which is impersonal, which is all knowing, all present, where there is no lack, there is no limitation, there are no exceptions, that even our Creator only think good and have good for us. Right? When that is our foundation, then there is this sense of invulnerability, right? Because now our confidence is in that which is, our safety, our provision, our sustainability is in that which is like Wayne said, that which is changeless, that which is unalterable, that which is divine, that which is eternal, that which has no beginning, no end, that which is of the one law of love. When our foundation is in the identity that God has given it to us, because only the Creator can really identify that which He creates. And so God has already identified us. God has already crowned us. God has already honored us with all of His capacity, all of its capacities, all of its abilities, all of its possibilities, which are endless, right? And so that is of our true nature.
That's why He says, "Be ye holy,
even as I am," because you are. I made you that way, right? I made you that way. And but see, we have a problem with that, because when we hear that word, we think about our human self, right, and its limitations, right, and the mistakes and the errors that it made. And say, well, I'm not holy, I can't be like God because I'm different than God. And see, that thought process comes out of a false identification. No, you are just like your Father. You're just like your Creator,
because He is the Father of all spirits.
Absolutely. And so only the Creator can put the value on that which He creates. And God has put an unlimited value on us. We've been stamped with His very own nature. How much more could we have? How much more, God gave us everything. And so there's nothing that we don't have, right, in our truest nature, in our truest essence in reality.
That's why
but where the problem comes in is in our thinking, because the thinking mind has not accepted that reality. The thinking mind wants to have only accepted that limited self, that body self with that birth date, right, and that government name and that government number. which is very limited, which is very fearful, which is, which is conscious only towards that which it can see, touch, taste, feel, right? It takes all of its information from the five physical senses, which is very limited. But when we wake up to the reality that there is no other foundation that can be laid than that which is already laid in God. And here they use the term, which is Jesus Christ, which represents God, right? Jesus represents that humanity self that our parents gave us. And then the word Christ represents that divine self, that which God gave us. What our parents gave us is limited. It is finite and it's temporary. But what God gave us is eternal.
Mm.
And so as we discover this true identity or this true self, it is that divine self, that Christ self that we are, that was created before the foundation of the world. Like over in Jeremiah, God told Jeremiah that I knew you before you was formed in your parents' womb, your mother's womb. Why? Because Jeremiah existed before he had a birth date and a born date.
Right.
That's the real Jeremiah. That's the divine self that God created that is unalterable and changeless. And when we tap into that as the foundation, as our true identity, then and only then that we can really begin to live life, or to build a life that is sustainable, that is safe, that is peace, that is filled with all the possibilities and pleasures, that has a purpose. What good is all the riches in the world and you don't have no real purpose for it? What good is it?
And as you think about it, coming from the mind of God, and my friend John Ebron says, when God wanted to boast, he said, let me make Oliver, let me make Wayne, because each and every one of us is an express image of God.
Yes.
That expresses all
Yes.
of God is through us as the unique person that we are, because none of us are identical when it comes to this physical features. But who we are as far as sons of God, the very nature of God exudes from us.
Right. So Wayne, when you work with your clients, and I know you do a lot of one-on-one mentoring, coaching with your clients, and I know you have a structure, that you build from. But even when you're doing your coaching, it doesn't take very long to come out in that coaching that, sometimes we have to go back to the beginning, right? With that client, right? Because the life that the current reality that they're living versus the preferred reality that they desire, right? It's a huge gap there, right?
But it start right. One of the first things that we start with, which is a part of the module that we work from, and that is the point of power is within.
Right.
And that which is within us is far greater than anything. And when
you're talking about identity there, then, right?
When one thinks about, pondering that, and every breath that we take, the billions of people on the earth today, Muslim, agnostic, atheist, Christian, everyone that breathes, there's one life source that's breathing them, and
right.
They're with that one life source. That's why we are here today, because we are connected to the life source, and that is God, in whom we live, we move, and have our being, consciously or unconscious about it. But when you become aware, and like you said, if you're not aware, then you're going to be like in this matrix, which honestly, it's like the matrix. People are just living by default. Just, it is what it is. Life is happening to me. But when I realize that I am one with the Creator, I can think and I can actually imagine and envision where I'd love to be. And because I have that creative power, because we're creative beings, this is who we are. We
Right.
create, we are creative beings. And
Right.
as we are creative beings, then today, every single person today that is alive is creating a life.
Yes.
They're
And
creating
every
a life.
and every person has set a foundation, right?
Right. And they're building upon that. And the thing is, a foundation is so important, because if you're not on the right foundation, it means that when the storms of life come, when all that stuff comes, it's gonna crash.
Yeah.
And
Well, it
that's
didn't.
it's so important. What is it that you're putting? What is it that you're building upon?
Right. I remember when I started my work with coaches. You know, I remember when I came to a point in my life where I knew I needed a mentor and a coach. Right. It didn't take them very long to discover that I had issues with my self-image. Right. And that's because I wasn't absolutely sure of my identity. Right. And so they stopped everything and worked on that, because they said this is the foundation for which you're building your life. And if it's not built on this one foundation of the truth of who you are, you're gonna at some point have to tear the whole thing down. So look, we're not going through that. That's why you came to me, because I understand this principle and concept. And so let's start over. And so they work with me with my self-image. They work with me with my old paradigms, my old way of thinking from a self-image that wasn't in alignment and in harmony with my true identity, which is my oneness with God, right? And so they tore the whole thing down, right? And we laid that foundation, like 1 Corinthians 3:11 say, there is no other foundation to lay. What has happened in reality is that divinity and humanity has become one. And divinity is the cause. Humanity is the effect. The body self is the effect. And the body self is now what will get to experience your reality in the physical. Okay, you got to understand this, that this body that you got now that you know what it is, and it's in its proper place, you understand that this body will serve you as a healthy, serviceable instrument, right?
Say that again.
It said that once you understand who you are and the mind is aligned with this true identity and in harmony with it and in integrity with it, and you're no longer using the body for roles it cannot fulfill. It said once you realize this and the body now aligns to its function, it will operate as a healthy, serviceable instrument. And regardless of what you're doing, or what you have to do, or where you have to be, the body will make sure that you are in what they call tip-top shape.
That's right. That's why we look at the diet that we have.
Yes.
Decided, and the body left to itself, like I say, would flesh out. The body left to itself would eat anything. Would do
it has It has the nature of an animal, right? And its instinct. The instinct is to what? Just to consume. Its instinct is to what? Compete.
Yeah.
See, when you come to this true identity, when you come to know who you really are, there's no more competition. There's only creation.
Yes.
So we only compete when we feel like there is a sense of lack. There's only a piece of pie, and the pie is so big, and if they get a piece and he gets a piece and she gets a piece, there's only a certain amount left. And so so that's what we compete for, what is left. But that is not the thinking of your God self. That is what the limited human self would think.
There is so much of God that there is no exhaustion, because somebody said this, why don't you just be yourself? Because if God wanted to make you somebody else, he would have made you somebody else.
Absolutely.
This position is taken, people.
Absolutely.
In the life of Wayne Moody, I'm the star. God is the executive director, producer, financer, and God and I are actually creating a blockbuster.
Yes.
In your life.
Yes.
You star. God is you then get to co-create this life towards a purpose that was in the mind of God. Because when we were sent, think about it. And this is where the identity comes from, and then the awareness of my value, because God thought about me and he placed giftings, abilities, and passions, and God believed in me. Now, if God believed in me, I gotta believe in me. Why not? I mean, if God, and this is as I talk with my clients, because I'm like, I know God believes in you. You have giftings, abilities, talents, passions, purpose, vision, and God placed it in there because God believed in you. So you better believe in you.
Yes. So that foundation that we're talking about here is our true identity as the very creation of God. Not as something separate from God, but as something one with God. And
You know,
so,
in the prayer of Jesus, right? Jesus said, Father, I pray that they may be one,
right.
even as we are one.
Yes.
And not just for them, but them who will believe also.
Yes.
That's who it be.
Yes.
And he said, as the Father sent me, so send I you.
Yes.
And for God so loved the world that he gave Jesus, but he gave Oliver, but he gave Wayne, but he gave we're sent. And this is why it's I mean, as I think about this thing and as it becomes even more aware, we are sent forth as ambassadors representing a kingdom that cannot be shaken. We're sent forth in a place,
kingdom that cannot what?
Kingdom that cannot be shaken. And this is what it's all about. It's about seeing the kingdom of God, the will of God be done first in my life and in the earth. Because it's not about something that is out there. It's about something that starts within here.
It comes from within.
And as it from within, wherever I come, wherever I step. Think about the embassy of the United States in another country. That piece of property is considered the United States. The treatment that person gets, that's the ambassador, you go and you touch anyone in the embassy of the United States in another country, you're looking for a whole army come for you. So here I am, here you are. The space that you occupy is an embassy. And that place, I mean, there is no ambassador that is in lack when it comes to like the countries of the world. I mean, the American ambassador abroad, they're not going to be by on a shoestring budget. They're going to be well taken care of because they are actually representing the country of the United States. This is why, like I said, conceived in the mind of God, sent forth in the mind of God, who is the creator. And like Miles Monroe says, if you want to know the purpose of a thing, go to the maker of the thing.
You never ask the thing.
You never ask the thing. But there's so many things asking things, what is my purpose? I find my purpose in knowing God. And honestly, one has to believe God exists and seek God, because God is God. He that cometh to God must believe that God is, and God is a rewarder of them that diligently seeks God. And we start right where we are. I mean, each of us, as we've been living this life and navigating ourselves, there's a sense of, and I think, there's a scripture that says that he has placed eternity in their hearts. And we don't go to seek God somewhere out there. We come and we go within. And that's where God rises from. The psalmist says, let God arise. God is going to arise from within and let the enemies be scattered. I mean, and that which is conflicting to who God is the thought system, because the Apostle Paul says, though we live in this flesh, we don't wage war according to the flesh, but the weapons of our warfare are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down every thought and every imagination and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And Paul says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's what we do. Change our thinking. When your thinking changes, that's called repentance. You change the way you think. So I think differently. I see you differently. I realize that, hey, all that I have to give is what has been given to me. And one of the foundation as I received the love of God was forgiveness. And I receive it and I give it. And I see the world as God has seen it, because the world has been reconciled to God. That's what Christ was doing. God was in Christ reconciling the world unto himself. So we have the message of reconciliation. Be reconciled because you've been reconciled.
So at the end of the day, if all things have been reconciled into the one thing, then there's only the what one thing, right? And we are all part of that one thing. Well, uh, I'm a spiritual junkie now. Since 1988, I've been a spiritual junkie, and one of my most treasured spiritual writings is called A Course in Miracles, and I teach that as an advanced spiritual as advanced spirituality, and I teach that in a different platform. But the Course says it this way, the same way that 1 Corinthians 3:11 says it's a different way. The Course says it this way. The Course says it this way by saying nothing that is real can be threatened. So and the only thing that is really real in this place that we all are is our true identity. That's the really only stability in this world, is who we are. Everything else is transient. Everything else is changing. Everything else is really decaying in a sense, or changing forms. But the only thing that is constant, the only thing that is inalterable, the only thing that is changeless is our true identity, the real, which I call here at my platform the real you. That is the only thing that is stable. And so when it says nothing real can be threatened, what we're saying here is that foundation, which is the only foundation there is, because there's God and there's really nothing else. And everything emanates from God, right? And so if that is the foundation, that foundation can't be threatened. And so in our true identity, we can't be threatened. We're not vulnerable, as the world would tell you. We're not inferior, right? There is no inferiority in the mind of God. There's only equality. See, so you can only have a sense of innocence and oneness where there is no inequality. So our innocence cannot be threatened. Our eternal state cannot be threatened. Nothing in our reality can be threatened. So with the knowing of that, we can have assurance, we can have confidence, we can be confident in this hour right now. First John said that we can be bold and confident that as God is, so are we in this world right now. we can have confidence in that. And so then our safety and our peace and our provision and everything about us comes from the one source. And when we realize that, guess what? We can relax. We can let go of the anxiety. We can let go of the worry. We can let go of the fear. Because why would you fear when you have all things? When you know all things, and that all things are present. And so this is why it is so vital that we start here at first base, which is our identity. You have to know and embrace and accept for yourself your true identity, which is your divinity. You are a divine self that is not separate from all other selves, but you share the one self that we all share. And Wayne gave the example about us breathing the same air, having the same blood. All this is symbolic of we share the same earth. All this is symbolic of the oneness that is at the core of our nature.
And Oliver, whatever you believe is going to determine how you behave.
Oh, all your outcomes come from that.
So if you refuse to believe who you really are, then it's going to be seen in the life that you're living less than what you were supposed to be.
Yes.
If you see yourself as a son, a daughter of the Most High, sent with purpose. And the thing about it, this is what I say: each and every one of us is a gift. but we're not so much a gift to ourselves as we're a gift to the world. And I walk in a room and I see every gift in there, and I celebrate each gift that is in there. And the practice namaste, the divine in me sees and celebrates the divine in you. And when we truly step into that awareness, there is no need for me to want to hurt and harm you, because we are one and part of the same. There is no need for me to want to even see you less than, because
Yeah, because what we would have for our brother is exactly what we're going to have for ourselves. So when our brother really is a reflection of ourselves from the way we see them, right? When we see them through the eyes of reality and truth, we see them for who they are. That's why we can look past people's mistakes and errors and see the face of Christ in everyone and remember God.
and this is why we do what we do, because it's shining the light and helping others to see that we are the light. I am the light of the world. You are and it didn't come from me. I didn't say it. God said it. I'm the light. You are the light. And what do you do with a light? You don't put it under a bushel.
But you put it on the candlestick, yes.
So that you can be seen. And honestly, you see folks and you might be drawn to what they are physically, but who they really are is the person that is traveling in this body. Right. There are some beautiful houses as far as the body that people are traveling in, but who lives in the house is more important than the house.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Wayne, boy, this is good. I mean, again, we're laying a foundation, and we're not holding back. It is what it is. I mean, this has to be the start. If we start from any other origin, it's somewhere down that line, we don't have to tear the whole thing down. But when we start and build the foundation on truth, on reality, then we can build any life that we desire, and it will stand.
Yes.
It will stand the test of time. It will stand the waves and the wind and the rain. Why? Because it cannot be threatened.
Right.
Right? It cannot be threatened. And so what a way to start this first month of the Coach's Corner with Oliver and Wayne. We're so excited about where this is going. We're so excited about the impact that we're having in our different communities. I know the work that Wayne is doing is sacred work. I know because I'm a part of his mastermind group, I know the people are being mentored and coached and given a system of transformation that they can live with for a lifetime. And that's what we need. Everyone needs direction. Everyone needs mentoring. To live a life without mentoring is to waver and to allow any wind to blow you anywhere, any ship to take you anywhere you don't even know where you're going. So there has to be a blueprint, there has to be a plan, and that blueprint has to be built on the foundation of your true identity. And so today is the beginning of what we're going to be doing the rest of this year in Coach's Corner. Next week, we're going to talk about the other critical part. Part one is knowing who you are. Part two is knowing that you have a mind, and it is with that mind that functions in a certain way that you need to understand it, how it functions, so that you can use that great tool that you have to master the mind, so that you can build a life that masters the vicissitudes of life. And so next week, the next month in February, when we come in here with Coach's Corner, we're going to be doing some mental work.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. Wayne, you got any closing remarks?
I just want to say thank you for all the communities that are actually viewing. And hey, you know how to reach us on our different platforms. And hey, we are here to serve you. We are here to just be a blessing to you. You have a question, and you know what? There might be folks who would say, "Hey, we would like you guys to come and do a seminar, do a workshop, do a conference." We're open to limitless opportunity and possibilities.
All right. Well, you see on the screen there how you can reach out to Wayne. That's his email address. If you got any questions from here, you can reach out to Mudez 2022 at Yahoo.
Mudas 2002 at Yahoo. Yes.
Yes. And most of you that's in my community know how you can reach out to me. I can be reached at my email address would be, if I can find it here, I'll put it up on the screen. I think that's it. OK Blues. There it is. OK Blues at trulyob.com. You can reach out to me if you like to go a little deeper into these conversations. If you're looking to consider getting a mentor, you can reach out to Wayne or myself. It doesn't matter. We're partners. We're partners. We are masterminders. We are one.
Yeah.
So,
and you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram.
yes.
Hey.
Well, hey, listen, folks know where I am. That's in my communities because I'm always showing up.
Yes.
But that's, hey, look, one thing about me, I'm reliable.
Yes.
I'm committed to this, so
Yes.
they know Oliver is going to be popping up at some point.
Yes. Yes.
And that's part of my commitment is to add as much value. This is part of both Wayne and our commitment. We intend to add value.
Yes.
To build goodwill.
Yes.
And equity in the communities in which we serve, because we are here to serve the communities. And so we thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for those who may have watched the replay. This is Coach Oliver, and that young man right there is
Wayne Moody, Dream
Coach
Builder.
Wayne Moody. And we'll see you next month. These are impromptu sessions, so we could show up any day of the month. So, but they're all recorded, and you can always go back and watch the replays. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next month. Have a great day, and remember, the real you loves you.
Yes.
Because the real you is love.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.